What's up everyone, it's Jake Pick Yu-Gi-Oh! And wait, this isn't a Yu-Gi-Oh! Video? That's right, I do more than play Yu-Gi-Oh! I also play Call of Duty. And lately, I've rediscovered my love for particularly Call of Duty Zombies. I, like many others, had fallen off the mode near the end of Black Ops 2 and into Black Ops 3. It's when I kind of fell off the wagon entirely, and I didn't really play it again until earlier this year. And man, I miss some good ass maps, and some hot garbage ones too, but we'll get to that. Anyways, I want to do something that I thought would be fun and ranked all of the Treyarch Zombie maps from worst to best, giving them my thoughts and such as that. I might do deeper dives and analyze individual maps more in the future, if that's something people want. Now these are only covering Treyarch maps. You're not going to be seeing Infinity War zombies, World War II zombies, Exo zombies, none of that crap. Get that out of here. I don't care enough to buy those DLCs. Now I also want to bear in mind, this is not taking anything like Easter eggs or anything like that into mind, just because I personally just don't give two shits about them, I could lie. This is just purely based on enjoyment of maps and how fun they are. Treyarch sometimes hits it right out of the park when it comes to zombies, but they sometimes make some of the worst content out there. Get a little A and B. So let's just get right into them and make them all from worst to it's TranZit. The worst zombies map coming in at number 32, it's TranZit. I don't even want to waste time finishing the intro. Now, to give TranZit some credit, its concept is fantastic. A large kind of open world zombies map with multiple locations, a bus take you around, and the introduction of buildables. TranZit has a map, could have been one of the best maps we've seen up to that point. Emphasis on should. In practice, TranZit is the most clunky, broken, and tedious map in all of zombies. Everywhere you go has a time limit because if the bus leaves, you're just stuck in that area, and the only good area on TranZit is town, which has no weapons. Getting anywhere on TranZit is annoying with fogs and the denizens if you don't have the bus to get around with. TranZit is a hard map, but it's not something that's naturally hard like something like Verruckt. It's hard because it just inconveniences you at every turn. If you go down, it's going to take forever to get all your perks back, and if you're on co-op, if you're not together, then you're not getting revived. You have to go through so many hoops just to do anything on TranZit. Pack-up punching is a fucking nightmare. There's tons of buildables you can't use because you pretty much always need a turbine or a jet gun if you have, which, by the way, jet gun, tedious as fuck to build, and it can break. Sure, it's like, oh, if you know how to use it, fine, but, like, I don't want a guide to know how to use a wonder weapon, like, no. Tombstone admittedly isn't the worst perk for TranZit just due to its nature, since you're probably gonna die in TranZit and you won't be able to get revived. The main problem with TranZit is just how it's not hard. It's really not that hard, it's just inconvenient, from the fog to the fire to the breakable buildables, the breakable wonder weapon, horrible map layout, the bus dicking you over. It's just inconvenience upon inconvenience. It's artificial difficulty. It's not hard because it's designed well, it's hard because it's designed terribly. And that's why I think TranZit is the worst zombies map. At number 31 we have Bus Depot. Yes, the starting room with TranZit is a better map than TranZit itself. That's just how bad TranZit is. Bus Depot at the very least has the novelty of its difficulty. All you have is a mystery box and a little room to run around with. A map so small and bare bones isn't gonna be a good map, especially when the places you can run around from are covered with lava. It's one of the hardest maps in zombies, but that doesn't mean it's one of the good ones. Like TranZit, its difficulty comes artificially, with things like the lava. There's not really much to say about Bus Depot, it is just a starting room, so let's just move on. Now we're at what I consider to be the bottom of the barrel maps. That's right, only two, but we still have to get the bottom two maps out of the way. And to kick that off, we have Voyage of Despair at number 30. Voyage was one of the 3 launch maps for Black Ops 4, and by far the worst of the bunch. Voyage just feels uninspired. Nothing about it sticks out, and it shows in the very bland map layout. It's easy to get lost because everything looks the same, all the corridors just feel the same, and just all the winding corridors are just unnecessary, especially with this how many there are. The Kraken is also one of the lamest wonder weapons and feels just as inspired of the rest of the map. It looks like any on the gun, and honestly, if I didn't know better, I would have just assumed it's a regular weapon. The elemental variants aren't even that good either, it's just kind of more of the same of the regular gun. It's a big step down from upgrades like the Origin Staffs or the Eisendrache bows. The map is incredibly forgettable, and it's not one I've ever really felt the need to go back to or even really want to. It's just kinda bland and boring. Number 29 is Die Rise. We're just crapping on Black Ops 2 right off the bat, huh? Black Ops 2 didn't exactly have the greatest assortment of launch maps, and the first DLC didn't do much to help the lackluster map quality. Die Rise is another map just filled with inconveniences. It's a very vertical map with no way to navigate safely. So you had the trample steam, but sometimes it just decided it didn't want to work and just shoot you off the map. Who's Who was introduced, and it's the only map this perk's ever been on, and it is notoriously the worst perk in all of Zombies. While it can be good, the fact that it gives you nothing but a starting pistol pretty much guarantees you're not going to revive yourself outside of like end the round. And especially on higher rounds, it hurts you a lot more than helps you. Now the Sliquifire is one of the best wonder weapons ever, but it also happens to be on the worst map for it. If you're not careful, you can just wind up slipping and sliding off the map with it. PhD Flopper was also teased on, which it's dumb. This is the one map that it was made for. If you go down in co-op, just like TranZit, if your teammate isn't right there with you, you're not getting revived. It's incredibly hard to navigate on Die Rise, and sometimes you have to wait for elevators just to get to different levels, and there's nothing you can do about it. It just makes for an overall bad experience. Coming in at number 28, we have Farm. Farm is basic. It has the basic 4 perk machines along with a mystery box. It's bigger than Bus Depot and gives you a little bit more room to run around it, but there's still only a few things to do. It's an issue with the greater TranZit map, but Farm is just an ugly map altogether. There's honestly not a whole lot to talk about. It's a fairly cluttered map that doesn't have much going on and kinda just leaves you an unenjoyable map altogether. All you really have is one door to open and a mystery box, and you're pretty much done buying stuff, and it just, after that you're just, what do you do now? Time to return to Black Ops 4. The bottom of this list is just filled with Black Ops 2 and 4 maps, isn't it? Number 27 is going to be Alpha Omega. Alpha Omega was a reimagined Nuketown Zombies and added stuff with lore, seeing ultimates and premise together, which, while kinda neat, isn't gonna improve the quality of a map. Alpha Omega was ported pretty much straight from Blackout, with very uninspired Elemental Raygun Mark IIs as the wonder weapon, and an utterly obnoxious Pack-a-Punch process that's annoying enough to turn on once, but you're gonna have to continuously do it as you play the game, and you'll have to continuously do it throughout playing. Alpha Omega took what made Nuketown a charming map, and instead left it just with blandness. Alpha Omega isn't inherently bad, but just uninspired, which is an issue kinda with a lot of the reimagined maps from Black Ops 4. Nova Crawlers are back, kinda like a weird gassy variant of them, something which could have been used to introduce a more interesting zombie type, but instead we just got them. Alpha Omega is a map where, unlike any of the other ones on this list, after playing it, it just feels like there's not any real reason to ever return to it. And when I want to play zombies, Alpha Omega is always at the bottom of maps I want to play. It's not even so bad, it's enjoyable to laugh at, like something like TranZit or even Voyage of Despair. It's just average. That's even giving it more credit. It's just bland. There's nothing to make you come back to it, and that's kind of why it's so low on this list. Number 26, we got Zetsubou No Shima, the first Black Ops 3 map on this list. Honestly, I hate Zetsubou. There's a ton of setup you have to do, and there is so many doors you have to open. It just feels like if you don't have Gobblegum, you're gonna have a bad time. It feels almost necessary, and that's I think one of the biggest flaws about the map. And then the Thrashers. Oh my god, the Thrashers. They are one of the most annoying boss zombies ever, and they just keep coming and coming. They can spawn in more when you kill them. It's so annoying, and those stupid orange ballsack juice things blew out at them, and it's just like, ugh. And they hurt you until you get the gas mask, and if you don't have the gas mask, which you absolutely need, they prevent you from shooting and slow you down, which just screws you even more. There's just way too much Zetsubou needs you to do with just not enough time to do it before things start getting out of control to make it an easy setup. Setting up on Zetsubou isn't fun, it's a chore. Unless you're getting points easier through Gobblegums, you'll just have to keep progressing rounds just to set up, and by the time you get set up, you're going to be dealing with way too many zombies to make it nice and smooth. Planting is fine. It's a cool addition and gives you something to constantly do, but I won't lie, it's hard to really be bothered about it outside of getting the free perks. The Skull and Subway is probably the coolest specialist weapon in all Black Ops 3, and also probably the most powerful. Just killing a whole bunch of zombies just by looking at them. It's awesome, and it's probably the main thing Zetsubou has going for it. KT4 is fine. It's kind of just like a boneless liquefier. I like the liquefier better, just more fun. The atmosphere works well, and despite everything, it's fairly easy to get around the map despite its size. But the biggest issue with Zetsubou is there's just so much issues with the start of any Zetsubou game that you have to keep constantly going through this checklist just to do natural setup, to the point where there's just so much setup you have to do, and 90% of the Easter egg is just naturally setting up on Zetsubou. That's way too much to expect out of the map, especially with how many doors it makes you open. I know I'm laying the point thick about the doors, but it's a very glaring flaw and the main reason why this map's just not enjoyable. And now we're done with the kind of more bottom tier maps, entering just kind of more lower tier ones. And for that, we're heading back into Black Ops 4 with another reimagined map, because number 25 is Blood of the Dead. Blood of the Dead is a reimagined of Mob of the Dead. Now, Mob of the Dead was one of the most beloved maps in Zombies, especially because it's kind of saved Black Ops 2. Now, I think people hate this map a little more than it deserves, because it's based on Mob of the Dead. It's still an okay map, and it's not fully fair to compare it to its original glory. It adds in new areas in the Warden's office and new industries, but you're pretty much never gonna go there after you do the things you have to do there. The change to equipment makes the Hell's Retriever pretty much useless, since there's never really a time you don't want Wraith Fighters. Pack punching is easy and does require a lot less effort than Mob of the Dead is nice, but ultimately all Blood of the Dead really wants to make you do is play Mob of the Dead. Just a better version. Number 24 is Shangri-La. Shangri-La is a map that's really only gotten better with age, however, it still has its fair share of problems. Monkeys will come and steal power-ups, which is both good and bad, but requires constant shifting of focus between zombies and monkeys, and since Shangri-La is a map with no real good training areas, you'll be camping, meaning it'll be almost impossible to chase after the monkeys. And because Shangri-La is such a tight map, you have to constantly be paying attention to the zombies and you can't be distracting yourself with monkeys. The baby gun is one of the best wonder weapons ever made, even if it technically doesn't kill zombies. There are some annoyances about Shangri-La, especially the spike traps and the maze serving as inconveniences rather than challenges, of which aren't really welcome on a map that's already hard just by design. I will say the Chronicles version is absolutely beautiful. Love it or hate it, Shangri-La is one of the most beautiful zombie maps in all of Zombies. Still, it does provide a pretty fun challenge for the most part, but overall Shangri-La just kinda has too many flaws to keep it from being too high on this list. And at number 23 is the finale to Aether, Nacht Der Toten. I won't touch on the story here, but the map is a reimagining of Call of the Dead, which was kind of a lame way to end the story. The facility and the starting rooms are the only new areas of the map, as well as Golden Pack-a-Punch, which is a very nice feature, especially with the Black Ops 4 Pack-a-Punch mechanics. The scope Wonderwaff is fine, I guess, if not uninspired. Like, again, as I mentioned before, a lot of Black Ops 4 reimagined maps. The Tundra Gun is awful, but you still have the Thunder Gun, but the Tundra Gun is such a bot's version of it. You never want it. It's so bad. George's impression, which some is a good thing, some is a bad thing. Tag is admittedly one of the better reimagined maps in Black Ops 4. It misses the mark a fair bit, especially with the elemental zombies and some of the wonder weapons, but overall it's not terrible, it's fine, but I'd rather be playing Call of the Dead any day of the week. This is going to be the last Black Ops 4 map for a while, with number 22 going to Dead of the Night to round out the last of the lower tier maps. Now, setting up on Dead of the Night is an absolute pain. You have to build the shield, make sealable bullets, do 3 different puzzles to open up Pack-a-Punch, and if you're going to upgrade the wonder weapon, which you obviously should, you have to do it not once but twice to get the full upgrade. It makes it a huge headache to set up on. However, once you finally get everything done you need to on Dead of the Night, what you're left with is a fairly enjoyable map. The atmosphere is really nice, and it feels a lot less claustrophobic like Voyage of Despair, while keeping kind of the same kind of enclosed space feel to it. The fully upgraded Alistair's Folly, Alistair's Annihilator, is awesome, and it's one of my favorite wonder weapons ever, with my only real gripe being that you're not able to choose what effect the charge shot has. I would prefer to it to be just one of the effects, and like other elemental wonder weapons like the Kraken of the Bow, you kind of have to do a quest to get the upgrade you want. There is a little too many boss zombies between it all with werewolves and Nosferatus. It's just kind of way too much. Though outside of the werewolves, they're all fairly easy to deal with, and with silver bullets, the werewolves aren't too much of an issue either. The biggest issue with Dead of the Night is the whole lot of setup, and there's just way too much the game expects you to know and how to do things just to make it overall enjoyable like other maps on this list. To kick off the mid-tier maps, we've come to the best of the Green Run bundle of maps, Town coming in at number 21. The staple map of those who never bought Black Ops 2 DLC. You get a full perk loadout, and you're able to get all the perks thanks to Tombstone if you're playing on co-op. It's the only non-TranZit map standalone that has a pack-a-punch, though annoyingly placed in the middle of the lava. Like TranZit, the lava is annoying, but also like TranZit, Town is the best the map has to offer. There's 2 box locations, wall weapons, and a decent bit of room to run around with, if not slightly hindered by the lava. With how convoluted TranZit was, having a nice simple zombies map was welcome at the start of Black Ops 2, and a part of the reason why Town was so liked, even if it's not without its own problems like the lava. It's a decent map, and a standalone version of the best part about TranZit's gonna be okay, at the very least. And we're finally at the first World of War map on this list to break in the top 20, with number 20 going to Nacht Der Untoten. Now the map is incredibly bare-bones, and has been in every zombie game in one way or another with the exception of Black Ops 4. There's only 3 doors to buy, and only a small handful of wall buys in a mystery box. Nacht is as gritty survival as it comes. The Black Ops 1 and 3 editions added more to it, with Mule Kick on 1 and a Wonder Fizz machine on 3, not to mention Gobblegums. The Black Ops 3 version does amplify it a fair bit, giving access to Pack-a-Punch weapons, almost all available perks except for Electric Cherry, and even a Thunder Gun for the main Wonder weapon. The original Nacht was the first time we saw the iconic ray gun, and despite its simplicity, Nacht is still a pretty fun map, and one of the most iconic areas in zombies. Hell, it wouldn't be in so many games otherwise. Nacht isn't going to be winning any awards for being the best map anytime soon, but for the time it was good, and it gave us the zombies mode. We wouldn't have anything if it wasn't for Nacht Der Untoten, and I think that's important. Number 19 will be a map with Nacht on it, Revelations. Revelations was the original ending map of zombies, and meshed together all zombie maps into one giant map. Now the map transitions into each other map incredibly smoothly, and it's a nostalgic wet dream. However, once the initial wow factor of seeing all your favorite maps in one, what's left is an aggressively average map. It has 2 of the strongest Wonder weapons available with the Thunder Gun and Apothecon Servant, as well as Little Arnie's. Pack-a-punching is easy and simple, and inside the Apothecon is a pretty cool area, even if it's only one of the 2 original areas in Revelations, the other being Spawn. Revelations doesn't really do anything wrong, but it doesn't do anything great either. It's incredibly easy with how much space and powerful Wonder weapons it gives you, but not enough to completely deter enjoyment out of. And onto what I consider to be the most okay map in all of zombies, number 18 goes to Nuketown. Now Nuketown is obviously a gimmick map. It was a popular multiplayer map repurposed for zombies. Perks in the Pack-a-Punch machine will randomly drop, meaning there's a chance you won't get Juggernaut until round 20, when you can get Pack-a-Punch like at round 5. Nuketown, like Revelations, is a novelty map. Though with Nuketown, it wasn't meant to be anything it wasn't. It was exactly what it advertises. Nuketown is just a fun map to load up and unwind with. There's no setup involved, not even power, with just enough room for everyone to have their own little space. Nuketown isn't going to be winning any awards for the best map, but it's just enough to keep people coming back just to chill out and play a few rounds of zombies without having to worry about anything. And we're upgrading out of the mid-tier maps into the higher ones, with number 17 going to Verruckt. Verruckt is, without a doubt, the scariest zombies map. Taking place in an insane asylum, Treyarch took the setting and just fucking ran away with it. It's those players on both sides of the map seem to turn on power to get to each other, at least in the original World at War version. Verruckt is one of the hardest zombies maps, and if you want a challenge, Verruckt is the way to go. No Pack-a-Punch outside of Gobblegums if you're on Black Ops 3, but Verruckt introduced both perks and traps, both of which are staples to zombies today. Verruckt is insanely unforgiving, but never unfair, which is where the charm of Verruckt comes in. It won't give you an easy time, and it's especially unforgiving in co-op, but that makes it all the more rewarding to try and push for higher rounds. Verruckt is gonna kick your ass, and it's arguably the hardest map on all the zombies. And it keeps you coming back to try and best this beast, and that's why Verruckt is so good. Just ahead is Verruckt's cousin, Shi No Numa at number 16. The map introduced one of the most iconic weapons of zombies in the Wonder War DG2, and also was the first time that the beloved usually loathed randomized perk location was introduced. Moving around in the swamp can be annoying, but provided the kind of balance to Shi No Numa rather than the annoyance of something like the fire on TranZit. It was the first time Hellhounds were introduced, which especially in World of War were very fucking terrifying with how devastating they could be. Shi No Numa is easy to understand layout, acting as 4 areas layers extending out from the center. While it's not the most iconic map in World at War, it's still a memorable one for introducing many beloved features. A lot of people don't like Shi No Numa. I personally really love it. The randomness gets a lot of people a little tiered out, which I think it's fair, but I love randomness, so that's probably a lot of the reason why I like Shi No Numa. I do think Shi No Numa gets a little bit too much slack, and I think number 16 is a fair place for it. We're entering the high tier maps now, kicking it off with the only great Victus map, because number 15 is Buried. This is some personal bias, which this whole list is, considering it's opinion based by nature, but I love Western aesthetics. So I really appreciate what Buried had to offer in that regard. It's one of my favorite maps when it comes to just pure appearances. The chalk is really cool, being able to decide where you wanted to put your wall weapons. That was a really awesome addition. Arthur or Leroy, whatever you wanted to call him, was also one of the coolest additions. It was a big guy who followed you around and he didn't try to hurt you. He tried to help you. You could hold crawlers, lock down the box, change power-ups, and open up areas of the map. He did a whole bunch of stuff. Now, considering all of this, Buried is one of, if not probably the easiest zombies map. The stopwatch basically guarantees you can erase some downs and get your perks back at the cost of maybe going back a round or two. And every max ammo you gotta refresh. It's incredibly easy to get free perks, and with so many powerful ones like Vulture's Aid, this just makes the map a lot easier to set up and stay set up. We all remember spending hours in the jug alleyway just shooting away with the traps in front of you. Buried easiness somewhat works against it and can cause you to get bored pretty quickly. Nonetheless, the map is still fun, and like all easy maps, you can choose how difficult you want it to be by changing up your strategy. Number 14 is gonna be Moon. Now this is where some personal bias really hits, because I would probably put it higher if not for the flaws about it. I fucking hate sound vacuums, and being in space, they're everywhere. I'm always in the dome because of it. Now that's not very fair to judge a map for, but something like this makes the hacker almost a necessity. You never know when the excavator is going to come and ruin your day, so you gotta run and go hack it to make sure it doesn't do anything. Pack-a-Punch at Gloom Lake is cool, and it's scary. You don't have much time before the horde starts coming in, albeit the hacker does give you some breathing room, but at the same time you have a horde of zombies to worry about by the time you're done. This is especially useful in the Black Ops 3 version, so you can pack a punch multiple times without having to worry. The hacker is a super cool device. I love the hacker. And it can do a whole lot, from changing a drop into a max ammo, opening doors, changing wall gun prices. It does it all. The astronauts are annoying and don't really add anything of value to the map. They just grab you, steal your perks, which it's cool since it's a threat to keep you on your toes, but due to the nature of Moon, it could be almost impossible to hear them approaching you, and you just get grabbed and you're dunski. There's a lot of space in room, which does balance out some of the hard parts, but you're pretty much always going to want to be near the actual Moon, like the physical part outside near Moon Kick, or in the dome, because a lot of the other places are just a little too dangerous. Overall, though, Moon is fun, though a lot of people, it's a very love it or hate it kind of map. I'm kind of mixed about it. I have mixed feelings about Moon. I think a lot of people do. We're keeping up with biases, because number 13 is 5. 5 has, without a doubt, the best cast of any Zombies map and McNamara. The characters and the lines are just so iconic, and it really drives the map into the upper echelon for me. Characters aside, 5, like Verruckt, is a very hard map. There's not a whole lot of space to move around, and outside of one player being able to train in the war room, you're gonna be camping. The Winter's Howl is a pretty terrible one-though weapon. It drops off super fast, and the Pentagon Thief was a really annoying boss round. You just stole your guns, if you didn't kill him, you say goodbye to him. But outside of this, 5 is a fun map. There's 3 different levels to play on, and each level plays pretty differently. Underground, you got the Nova Crawlers. War Room, you got kind of the big train area, and on the top floor, you got the elevator camping spot. 5 is a simple map, and doesn't try to do anything drastic, but gives you a difficult map to play on compared to Kino Der Toten when it comes to the launch maps. I'm probably a little biased on 5. I have a lot of special memories on 5. I really love 5. I always love booting up 5 just to play as the characters. The characters, if the characters weren't in 5, I would honestly be a lot lower. Is that disingenuous to have it this high? Yes. Do I give a fuck? No.
Sounds like someone breaking in!
Just a storm, Dick. Sit down.
And just above 5 is the reimagined version of it, classified at number 12. There's not too many difference between the maps, and Classified just kind of fixes all the issues 5 had. The war room is a little bit bigger for one, a little minor, but it's neat to have a little more space. And the biggest thing is you actually know where you're teleporting now, which is the most annoying fucking thing about 5, and they finally fixed it. Gloom Lake was a cool change to the Pack-a-Punch area, although I'm not personally a fan of not being able to go back into the panic room after getting the teleporter amplifier, just because it's such an iconic part of 5. Rate Fires in the Black Ops 4 engine does make the map significantly easier, though that's in no fault of the map, more so the game itself. There's not too much to say about Classified really. It's a strictly better version than 5, even training at the Thief for classic Hellhounds. Whether you like the Thief is neither here nor there. I never personally liked the Thief, so I kind of prefer the Hellhounds, but even then, eh. The only thing worse is it not having the original characters from 5, which, I mean, Ultimus is cool, I guess, but I mean, you can't top JFK, baby, you just can't. What is probably the most important Zombies map, just missing on the top 10, is Der Riese at number 11. Der Riese introduced so much, from Easter eggs, albeit a minor one, to the most important feature in the game, Pack-a-Punch. Der Riese is an incredibly designed map, perfect for those who like trading and camping. The map flows perfectly, and honestly, it's kinda hard to talk about Der Riese. It's the biggest groundwork for zombies, and it pretty much made zombies what it was today. It's just such a good groundwork for what a zombies map should be. Fun, flowing, and supporting of different playstyles. Der Riese is what made zombies, zombies, and paved the way for all of future zombie maps. Der Riese is a universally beloved map, and even if it's not in someone's top 5 or even 10, we all respect Der Riese for what it did for zombies. Now, just as a small aside, the Giant is included in this because they're the same fucking map. Kicking off the top 10, at number 10 is going to be another fan favorite map for the casual audience, Kino Der Toten. Now, some people might think I'm overselling Kino, and Kino Der Toten is this overrated map. You're wrong. I personally think Kino is a very perfectly designed map. There's enough space to run around in, but there's dangers in trying to get from one area to the other, especially in the middle of the round due to how tight the hallways are. It was the introduction to the Thunder Gun and the first quote-unquote safe pack-a-punch room, not having to worry about zombies while you pack-a-punch your guns. It was simplistic, and that's where the beauty of Kino Der Toten comes from. It's an easy to understand map, anyone can enjoy it. Kino Der Toten is a special zombies map for a lot of people. It was many people's introduction to zombies. Sure, I'm using nostalgia to kind of justify my placement, but at the same time, I don't believe Kino is overrated. There's plenty of times where I would load up Black Ops 1 just to play Kino Der Toten or Black Ops 3 to play it in Chronicles. Kino Der Toten just has so much replayability and it's hard to not keep coming back to it. It was the map to play when you didn't have DLC in Black Ops 1 and it was a solid map. Just playing with friends, hopping on Kino, it always was a good time for zombies. The Nova Crawlers added a need for a little more strategy to balance out Kino's fairly wide space and easy simplistic design. Overall, Kino Der Toten has a lot going for it that I think a lot of people just refuse to acknowledge because it's too basic, but basic isn't bad. Basic means anyone can enjoy it. You can do different high round strategies, you can do different strategies in general just for casual play, just depending on how many players you have. It's a lot of fun and Kino is a map I will always keep coming back to. Coming in at number 9, we have another launch map, and that is Shadows of Evil. Now, honestly, I think Shadows of Evil is a bit overrated, and originally planned to even put Der Riese and Kino Der Toten ahead of it. After some reflecting though, I believe that Shadows of Evil just does too many things right for that to be even justified. The atmosphere is incredible. I mean, they got Jeff Falcon Goldblum to do a voice, what else do you want? Beast Mode was a cool mechanic and kind of swing around, slap stuff with your tentacles, it was cool. It also introduced one of the most overpowered perks, potentially even better than Juggernaut in Widow's Wine. The specialist was really cool, the sword was super fun to use, and the Apothecary Servant was one of the best wonder weapons well ever. Now it does admittedly take a really long time to set up on Shadows, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna have a rough time. You're gonna need a guide to figure out how to set up on this map. It takes like a fucking hour to set up, but once you're good to go, the map gets so much better. Big setup maps aren't gonna be everyone's cup of tea, and I'm kind of one of those people who aren't big on the maps that require a shit ton of setup, and on release a lot of people got turned away from zombies because of it. However, Shadows of Evil has aged magnificently, and is probably one of the best quest-heavy zombie experiences out there. Number 8 is 9. Yes, 9 isn't number 9. Did I do that on purpose? No. 9 is one of my favorite environments out of any zombies maps. The Coliseum was one of the best starting rooms in all of zombies, and each perk being its own tower in the four corners was fantastic, making it easy to find the perks you want, especially when this map was a launch map and you still needed to learn everything. Wonder weapon was pretty neat, a little scorpion friend. The challenge and crowd affinity were both cool features, and 9 really saved Black Ops 4 from two much weaker zombie launch maps. From a game with so many flops, 9 was really a shining feature of what Black Ops 4 zombies could have been. There's some annoyances with the map. The little gladiator dudes can be a little annoying at times, but overall it's a really enjoyable map, and I keep coming back to Black Ops 4 just to play 9. It's a really good map, and if you haven't played 9, do yourself a favor, load up Black Ops 4 and hit the Coliseum. At number 7, we have what might be the most controversial placement, maybe not, is Origins. Now, Origins is a great map. However, it very much became going through a checklist rather than surviving. And some people like that, nothing against that, but I'm not personally a fan of it. Either way, Origin does a lot right. It was the first time a wonder weapon could be held by each player, with each player being able to have their own staff. Each staff functioned differently, somewhat based on other wonder weapons you've seen at the time, with the exception of the fire, and were each really fun to use. The staffs were all really easy to build, albeit some of the upgrades were kind of a pain in the ass. The shovel was a really cool addition, kind of gave you something to do around the map that's not just killing zombies, and once you got the golden shovel, you can even get free perks. Zombie blood was introduced in here, and I believe it's the only time you really ever saw this power up, and it's a great power up too. And allowed the players to do some of the tasks Origin wanted you to do without worrying about getting hit in the back and dying. Now, one of the most annoying, worst parts about Origins, there's not too much wrong with Origins, but it's the fucking Templar zombies. They'll spawn in and attack the generators, and they'll keep doing it until you kill them. So they can just take away all the generators if you don't do anything about it. So you can't ignore them, and you have to drop what you're doing, go to them before they just take away all your power, because you need the generators on for your perks, for pack-a-punch. It's a huge nuisance. Even with all that, Origins does a lot right. It does so much right. It was an experience, and no run of Origins is going to be quite the same. Sometimes you go for a lightning staff, maybe you'll do the soul boxes right away. You never know, there's so many different routes you can take. It is a checklist, but it's a checklist that you can decide how you want to tackle. You don't need to do anything on that checklist if you don't want to. The Panzer zombies were also introduced, and also terrifying, and it's the first time we've seen a super strong boss monster that needs to be taken care of right away, and you could, because George Miller had fucking 50 million health. That's not true, but he had a shit ton of health, is what I'm trying to say. Origins was a fantastic swan song for Black Ops 2. The conclusion to something that had a pretty rough start, and it ends on a high note. It's a good conclusion to what would have been a pretty bad game had it not been for maps like Origins and Mob of the Dead. Number 6 is the only zombie maps that features celebrities playing themselves, and that's Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead continued the trend of slam dunks from Black Ops 1 Zombies map. George Romero offered a constant threat and rewarded you handsomely for killing him with a free perk bottle as well as a death machine, or if you did the Easter egg, a Wonder Waff power up. The Scavenger was a really fun gun, and the VR-11 was not. Amusing, yes, but probably one of the worst wonder weapons in all of Zombies. The map flows incredibly well, and it's easy to get around between the boats, the lighthouse, and the spawn area. And pack punching is as simple as turning on the power. You don't have to do anything but turn on the power. The lighthouse will start shining on wherever pack punch is going to be. You gotta open them doors and toss that little gun in. While Call of Dead gives you a lot of space, it is deceptively hard. The lack of wonder weapons, in addition to George walking around, makes it a very hard map, especially with the lack of traps on the map. The ziplines were fun, and the classic PhD flop location in front of the lighthouse is just as fun as you remember. All the characters are great too, and it's honestly one of my favorite zombie cars out there. It's up in the top 3, maybe even 2. The one thing the map is missing though is a machete wonder weapon. Come on, man! Come on! And now we've reached the top 5 and the top tier of maps. And what will probably be the most controversial placement, number 5 for me, is Ascension. Originally, before I got back into Zombies, Ascension was my favorite Zombies maps, by far. Ascension is an almost perfect map. It flows amazingly, and thanks to stuff like the lunar landers, it's really easy to get around to different places. In addition, Ascension gives every player in the game a space to train if they want, something that's not very often seen in Zombies, and each player can have their own zone to kind of call their own. Monkey rounds for a fun challenge, albeit they're harder the less people there are in the game, so you're probably going to lose your perks if you're playing a solo game. Killing them all without the monkeys touching any perks gave you a free perk bottle, which was a really nice addition and one of the first times a free perk bottle could be quote-unquote easily obtained. I say that because it gets significantly harder to get as the game progresses, especially if you don't have a lot of players. Ascension also introduced a lot to zombies, the Ghost devices, the Choice dolls, PhD Flopper, and Stamina. Many of these are fan favorites. I mean, it even has a sickle for God's sake, how fucking cool is that? Now, admittedly, because Ascension is so open, it's one of, if not the easiest zombies map out there. However, with Ascension, there's plenty of areas that allow you to make your own difficulty. Ascension is one of the best maps to just relax with some zombies. ease. As there's no grand setup, and the only thing you really need to do is open up the Pack-a-Punch by riding the 3 Lunar Landers and hitting the switch. It is the map for zombie trainings, and anyone can train in full players, which again, you don't see often. So it's easy. But it's so fun. It's such a relaxing map. You load on, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna shoot the shit with your friends, you're gonna have a good time. Number 4, gotta be Gorod Krovi. Stalingrad was such an awesome settings for a zombies map, especially when there's fucking dragons everywhere. The Raygun Mark III is one of the funnest wonder weapons out there, albeit not the most powerful when you're going for the high rounds. The Dragon Strike and the Gauntlet of whatever the fuck it was called were both awesome as well. Maybe it's just because I like dragons. Manglers are a good boss on me, though not overly strong, but strong enough to require taking care of, albeit not to the same levels as Panzers, they're kind of like a tier down below. Valkyries are kind of annoying, but can create something that needs to be handled right away, otherwise it really throw a wrench in the game. All you have to do is just shoot with the Mark III a couple times and they're gone in an instant. Locked in area is really cool, though it can be difficult if you're not prepared. I recommend having a Mark III. If you have a Mark III, you're not going to have any trouble with the lockdown. Challenges were a neat return from Origins, with one of which gave you a free perk. That's cool. I mean, it's Black Ops 3, so you probably had a gobble gun, but I mean, it's still cool to have. Dragon Shield is also a really cool shield, probably the best shield out of all the shields, with a powerful fireball attack that took a long time to drop off. Pack punching was simple, you just had to do the 3 little module thingies, and you were all set. Riding the dragons always feels awesome. Just the whole aesthetic is just so cool with the dragons. I just love dragons. I can't. That's why I like Gorod Krovi so much. Gorod Krovi is like a fine wine. There's so many small things going on, but it all adds up into one of the best zombies experiences out there. It's a cool setting, the fire. Once you get used to Gorod Krovi, once you get to the feel of the map and everything, it flows super well, it feels really good, everything feels like it should be where it should be, nothing feels unfair, and it's just a quality map. Number 3 is going to be the best Black Ops 2 map by a mile, and that's Ancient Evil. If the other DLCs in Black Ops 4 were anything like Ancient Evil, Black Ops 4 would have been so much better. Ancient Evil did so many things right. The gauntlets are all very easy to get, and not to mention, a lot of fun to use. The little trial they toss you into to kind of demo them out was also incredible Dutch. You don't have to waste your ammo, you get to see how it works right away. All of them are so cool, all of them feel amazing to use, and are always worth going out of your way to get. Ancient Evil is a deceptively easy map and flows incredibly well. The shield is easy to build and is one of the coolest zombie shields in any of the maps. You get a little staff, you can throw it, you do a little clack clack when you equip it. Oh, it's amazing. The Ganesis, or whatever they're called, were hard boss zombies, but never felt too unfair, though the Blight Fathers were a pain in the ass. Fuck Blight Fathers, dude. The other special zombies weren't too big of a deal, and they didn't have the annoying hindrance like the zombies on Nacht Der Toten did. The atmosphere was incredible as well. The kind of fantasy mix was super awesome, and it didn't feel too out of place. The Pegasus strikes were a really cool lethal grenade. It was a welcome change from a traditional monkey bomb, just Pegasus just shooting down lightning at zombies. Pack punching was scary, but never enough to force you to stray away from it. It was pretty easy to do, you just have to do a little lockdown after freeing some birds, simple enough. It really was the pinnacle of Black Ops 4. It was amazing. Every map was like Ancient Evil in that game. Black Ops 4, I would be upset with like Black Ops 3 in terms of how much people loved it. And number 2 spot is taken by the pinnacle of Black Ops 2, and that's Mob of the Dead. Mob of the Dead saved Black Ops 2. Before it, we only had TranZit and Die Rise, and the really only decent map was Nuketown Zombies. Mob of the Dead is a map that just did everything right. There's a big objective to get to the Pack-a-Punch, but simple enough to understand so that anyone could do it. The Wonder Weapon had 2 variations with the Blundergat and the Acid Gat. Both equally good in their own right, though the Acid Gat kind of gave you a monkey bomb effect when Pack-a-Punch, so you usually wanted to go with the Acid Gat. It introduced Electric Cherry, which is one of my personal favorite perks of all time, good for training, good in camping in a pinch, you need a little zombie stun. The Hello's Retriever was also a ton of fun to use and really easy to get, you just gotta feed some doggies. And all the characters, oh man, the characters are so fantastic, they're so memorable, one of the best zombie groups we've ever seen on a map. The map flows incredibly, and each area feels distinct and has a purpose with vastly different playstyles. Training, camping, you name it. You can do it all on Mob of the Dead. Afterlife does make the map a bit easier, which does kind of help balance out the more difficult design of it. It does let you essentially have unlimited quick revive because of it, but the map feels a lot more balanced out because of it. When you go down, it's going to be hard to get set back up since all the important perks are fairly far away from each other. But they're easy enough to get to because you have stuff like the zip line to take you down to the docks and back up to the prison that kind of help mediate that a little bit. Unlike something like TranZit where you're just kind of fucked. Mob of the Dead gives you a good challenge, especially on high rounds, but it never feels unfair. Everything on the map feels balanced. Brutus can be a nuisance, but he's not overpowered by any means, but he's important enough to get rid of because he'll shut down your perks or shut down the box, so you want to get rid of him right away. The Golden Gate Bridge is a super cool pack-a-punch spot. One of my favorite pack-a-punches, probably my favorite part on the map, honestly. Probably the best spot to train outside of the cafeteria. Mob of the Dead is one of the best experiences for zombies, and not just Black Ops 2, just zombies in general. If it wasn't for Mob of the Dead, Black Ops 2 would have just looked back like how people look back on Black Ops 4, because Black Ops 2 really only had a few good zombies maps. It's a phenomenal map, such a good map. If you haven't played it, do yourself a favor, boot up your Black Ops 2, boot up Mob of the Dead, and get in there, because that map is incredible. If you haven't figured it out by process of eliminations, the best zombie map, number 1, is gonna go to none other than Der Eisendrache. Der Eisendrache felt like a return to zombies. Before it, ever since buried, maps were complicated. But Der Eisendrache was the pinnacle of what zombies should be. Getting the Bow of Ancients, the one weapon, is incredibly easy. All you gotta do is just feed some dragons. I mean, how easy is that? All of the bow upgrades were pretty easy to understand as well. They each only had a few steps to them, making the steps a lot easier to remember, so you don't gotta pull out the notebook to figure out how to do what and to get what upgrade. The Ragnaroks were a fun specialist, albeit simple. I've never been too crazy about them, but I mean, they're cool. Pack-a-punching is incredibly easy. All you gotta do is just visit the locations and teleport the Pack-a-punch pieces, which is just holding X on the Pack-a-punch perch. The Pack-a-punch areas themselves have enough space to not worry too much, but not enough to where you can completely let your guard down, and I think that's the kind of best way to handle the Pack-a-punch system. There's plenty of space for everyone to run around it in Der Eisendrache, and everyone can have their own spot to train or camp. Der Eisendrache is perfect. The panzers help balance out the overpowered weapons the map gives you, kind of like Origins. Der Eisendrache felt more like a Black Ops 1 map than a Black Ops 3 or even a Black Ops 2 map. It was a simplistic map with tons of stuff to do, and you can make any run feel different. It was fun for high round, it was fun for the Easter eggs, fun for the Easter egg speedrunning, fun for just casual players, it was fun for everybody. And that's the beauty of Der Eisendrache. Anyone can load it up and have a good time. And that's all. If you want to see my list in tier list form, I'll show it up on the video now. Some of my opinions might change on these as time progresses and how I play these maps more and more, except TranZit. But overall, this is how I feel about the Treyarch zombie maps pre-Cold War. Do you agree, disagree? Tell me your own zombie maps rankings. Till next time, I've been JPEG, thanks for watching.